Remember this offseason when everybody was trading for quarterbacks and we swore that was going to change the league? Well, not as impactful, at least in the positive way. I mean, it's impacted sports talk, but it hasn't changed the landscape of the teams that we talk about in the NFL and the broader discourse of it, because at the end of the day, still talking about the Chiefs, still talking about the Bills, still talking about Tom Brady, right? But what we can talk about is ranking these quarterback trades. Now, most of these are going to be from this offseason, but if there was a quarterback change, a intentional one, then I put that one on the list too. So I added an extra one, and that's the one that we're going to get to right now. And that's the worst one, Trey Lance. I think so far, as of October 19th at 3 o'clock on 2022, now things can change. He could become the greatest quarterback of all time next year. But as of recording this video, this trade has to be seen as nothing but an absolute flop. Now, again, is it really all Trey Lance's fault? No, not really. Most of this isn't Trey Lance's fault. But it's been 2 years, and you traded 3 first-round picks and a mid-round pick for a guy that's played 3 games. If he's played 2 games, I think. Started 2, 3, maybe. I think he started one the year before. Absolute disaster. That's an absolute disaster. Now, he can come back, be great, justify the trade. But as of right now, the price that you paid for Trey Lance and the fact that you're not going to really get any play back on Trey Lance and any chance to get that money back or any of the assets to make it worthwhile on him until the last year you don't have first-round picks because of him, it is crazy to me. So that's a bad trade so far. I don't think a lot of people have talked about it, but that's most certainly one of those things I feel like is a bad trade. The next trade, we're going to talk about the second worst trade of the offseason. It's the Carson Wentz one. To reignite your memory, the Commanders acquired Wentz for a 2022 second-round pick and a 7th-rounder in exchange for a 2022 second and third round and a conditional third. So basically, they swapped seconds. And they got a 7th in return, and then they gave up 2/3 to get Carson Wentz, who's on a 3-year, $81 million deal. Do I gotta tell y'all how bad this is? Carson Wentz is not good. He's barely playable. He turns the ball over a ton, and you're paying $20 million a year for a quarterback that nobody wants to start right now. Yes, there are worse quarterbacks I'm going to name on here more than likely who are playing technically worse, but the price to performance ratio has to count at some point. The next trade is the Baker Mayfield trade. Baker's been the worst quarterback in the NFL. So 3rd worst trade so far, 3rd worst move. He's been the worst quarterback in the NFL so far. And it's really only because he's that bad that ranks him this low on the list, because honestly, the trade was pretty low stakes, a conditional 4th, which is not going to happen at this point. And then they ate like $10 million. So it's a pretty low-risk trade for the Panthers. So you're not going to get knocked. It's not like you're stuck with Baker Mayfield after this year. His contract's up after this year. So it's not horrible. And that's why it's higher, because the price that it's going to put on your franchise for the next few years is not large at all. It's over after this year. So there is that. The next trade, I think, and this is number 4 worst, is the Steelers signing Mitchell Trubisky to a 2-year, $14.2 million deal when they plan to draft the quarterback in the 1st round all along. Teams do this, and look, traditionally it has merit, but functionally it doesn't, right? If we're living in an ideal world, the idea that you sign a quarterback to be the bridge for your young guy, so your young guy doesn't have to play immediately, it always sounds like a great idea. It's never how it ends up happening, though, right? Like it just isn't, right? There's the rare case with like a Patrick Mahomes, but even then, it wasn't like the Chiefs traded for Alex Smith to be a bridge. Alex Smith was already there, right? And in those situations, that tends to work out a little bit better because you have an established starter that people have a relationship with that they're not going to be so eager to get rid of. And you know, there is a dynamic there that protects that quarterback from not being benched immediately and throwing the rookie in. But when you just sign a free agent to be the quarterback for a year, instead of the young, exciting guy not Kenny Pickett, but the young, exciting guy to that franchise, like the fans are going to always want the young guy in there. So you basically signed a lame duck for $14.2 million over 2 years. And that stinks, right? Mitchell, he hasn't been great. He's had some moments here and there, but the offense looks terrible when he's out there. It's hard to tell if it's him or if it's Matt Canada, but either way, it's not good. All right, we're going to move to our 5th worst move of the year. I think after this, we'll start going to best. And that is Jameis Winston signing a 2-year, $28 million deal. This one, he's similar to Mitchell Trubisky because he doesn't start right now. He got injured, I believe. But he just paid more money. 2 years, $28 million. I believe that's what, 14 each a year. So he's just paid more. And it's not the value that you want out that position. So that's why Jameis is there. I mean, health has been an issue for him the last couple of years. All right. Let's move into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. The best category, right? The 5th best, if you want to call it that, move for a quarterback. It is how bad these moves have been this year. Matt Ryan. Colts trading for Matt Ryan. They gave up a 3rd-round pick for Matt Ryan, who's on a 2-year, $54 million deal. But I think the Falcons ate the bulk of that cap hit, which is why they're in like dead cap hell right now. So you did not end up having to pay that. That's fine. Low risk trade. You gave up a 3rd-round pick for a veteran who you felt like, hey, if he's still there, he can give you a chance. He turned out to not be who he once used to be or anything close to that. But again, it's a low risk move for somebody who you can make the argument and justify why the move was made, right? The reason why Carson Wentz was so low on this list was because you can't really justify Carson Wentz, that trade, especially after the year that he had. You can't justify it, but you can justify a move for Matt Ryan. And I think that's why Matt ended up staying on the good side of this list. Somebody else, I'm surprised, has been brought to the good side of this list, technically, at 4th best QB move, Russell Wilson. It's not a good move, and it's a move that did not work out how the Broncos want, at least so far. If you don't remember, they gave up a 2022 4th-round pick from the Broncos acquired Wilson in the 2022 4th-round pick from the Seahawks in exchange for 2 first-rounders and 2 second-round picks and a 5th-round pick, Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris. Look, this is a great trade for the Seahawks. I don't know if it was a great trade for the Broncos. You gave up a lot, and Russ don't look like the kind of dude that's going to elevate your franchise right now, which has been a problem for them all year. But here's where I'm willing to be optimistic on this. I know I did a video, Russ is cooked. I know Russ is cooked, but there is still a belief and a chance that Russ can be less cooked, right? Maybe it's the offense. Like, we can blame this on Nathaniel Hackett. There is some hope there, right? With Matt Ryan, with Jameis, with Carson Wentz, there is no hope that a new offense is going to change that. That just, like, they're done or they stink, right? With Russ, it's like, hey, he's not old. Well, he's not super old, but he's not young. And there's this hope that, hey, maybe in a new offense you can figure it out. If it stinks in a new offense, then they're in trouble. But at least now you can blame it on the coach, whether that's the problem or not. All right. Number 3 here is the Browns signing Jacoby Brissett to a 1-year, $4.65 million deal. Jacoby Brissett has been the quarterback of a top 10 offense in efficiency, and I think even in point scoring. They're one of the higher averaging teams in the NFL this year in points scoring. Jacoby's been fine. $4.65 million. You're talking about an ultra low risk move, the cheapest quarterback on this list at that number. He's cheaper than most backup quarterbacks. The average for backup quarterbacks is around $8 million. You got Jacoby at 4.65. And you can argue, if you don't take wins and losses into account, that he might be one of the better quarterbacks on this, the best quarterback on a new team on this list. But since another quarterback had a better win-loss record, I accounted that for that. And he won head-to-head, and that's Marcus Mariota, who's been the best quarterback move that we can see right now. 2-year contract, $18.75 million. So we're talking about a significantly higher investment. Again, he's in one of those weird situations where they drafted him to play, but want a rookie to play. But it's a little bit different because Desmond Ridder is a 3rd-round pick, not a 1st-round pick like Kenny Pickett. So the rush to get him in there is a little bit tempered, even though you might want to see what you have in Desmond before the draft if you're in position to take one of the 2 quarterbacks that's going to come out, or one of the quarterbacks that's going to come out. There's a plethora of quarterbacks that you might want to take a chance on. So that the win-loss record is why, but it's not like Marcus Mariota is a slam dunk signing. You know what I mean? It's just it's worked out better, and it's not as high risk. Technically, right now, by default, the best move for a quarterback this year has been the Browns trading for Deshaun Watson. Now, again, there's rather dubious stuff to go on this off the field. As a Browns fan, I'm well aware of the controversial nature of this trade and contract for Deshaun Watson. But if we're looking at this from a football perspective, you can argue already before he's taken a single snap in a Browns uniform, this is probably the better move. Now, the Browns ended up giving him 5 years, $230 million guaranteed, which could bite them in the butt in the future if he is not who they want him to be, which pretty low risk there, given that last full season he played at an MVP level, and he's going to be 27 upon his return, relatively young, especially for a quarterback. Browns acquired Watson and a 6th-round pick from the Texans in exchange for 3 first-round picks. So up until 2024, a 2023 3rd, a 2022 4th, and a 2024 4th. I think this trade ultimately is going to work out for both sides. One, this is house money for the Texans at this point. They weren't bringing Deshaun Watson back, so anything you got for him was house money. And you got a lot for him, right? You got 3 first-round picks. One of those first-round picks, like the Browns this year, I'm going to be honest with you, that might be a really good pick, right? And this happened with the Texans when they traded. Ironically enough, right, when the Texans traded for Deshaun Watson in the draft, originally they traded with the Browns. The pick that year ended up being the 4th overall pick that we got from the first Deshaun Watson trade. The Browns did. And that ended up being a number 4 overall pick, Denzel Ward. Got a really good pick out of that trade. The Texans, what I'm saying here is the Texans are in position to get their pick back from the Cleveland Browns. It's weird how things work out, that these trades happen over the same player between the same organizations, but, you know, that's how it worked out. So the Texans probably going to get a top 10 pick this year if the Browns don't shake things out sooner than later. Who knows what those other 2 first-round picks end up being. And the Browns get Deshaun Watson, who, look, you know, there's controversy all this side, but if you're looking at this from a football perspective, he's a franchise quarterback, and the price is worth it if he's a franchise quarterback. And he was a franchise quarterback in Houston. There's no reason to think with a better supporting cast in Cleveland that he wouldn't be. And if you look at all the guys who got traded for, the Trey Lance, right, 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance. That's a rookie from North Dakota State. It's a major gamble. There is less assurance and less of a probability that trade works out for them and they get what they want out of it versus the Deshaun Watson trade. When we look at the other big trade, Russell Wilson, that looked like more of a sure thing than this Watson trade did in the offseason for sure. But now, once we've seen Russ in this system, it does not feel like it has the same level of guarantee, and it feels like Deshaun's probably a better bet at this point than what Russ has right now, because it's been revealed that Russ might not have as much in the tank that we thought. And when you look at these major quarterback moves, this looks like the most sound one. Now, he has to play and live up to that, which is why unofficially Marcus Mariota is one on this list. But yeah, crazy. Who would have thought all of these moves would have worked out so bad that the Deshaun Watson trade would still look like the best one out of all of this? And look, I wasn't anticipating that. I thought the Deshaun Watson trade, like, it might look like that or might not. Even before the Browns did the trade, I wanted the Browns to get Russ. So, like, I'm not sitting here trying to beat my chest saying I was always right. I thought Russ would be good at this point. Russ was not. But that's how this thing has shaken out. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What is the best quarterback move that any team did this offseason? Do you think I'm wrong? Let me know in the comment section. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night.